Greetings, greetings, everyone. Good night. Good night, family and friends. Greetings to each and every one of you. Good night, good night. It'll be good if you guys could let me know where you're signing on from so I could acknowledge you, give you some credit. Yuri Jones, good night, good night. Thank you, Yuri. Yes, folks, please share the live, share, invite your friends, invite your family. Tonight, I always tend to say it's going to be an informative conversation. It will be an informative conversation. This evening, I will be joined by a dear sister, a lady, a woman who I have become fond of in a very short period of time. Miss Gretchen Smith is a missionary with 25 years of global experience working with both victims and perpetrators of violence across 9 countries, including 12 years right here in Belize. So in just a bit, I will be joined by Miss Gretchen Smith. We're going to be dissecting the 13th Amendment, so to speak. Friends, family, I want to appeal to each and every one of you. This morning on the Open Your Eyes morning show, I had a train of thought. I actually arrived late, and so I couldn't really get the amount of time one would normally get. But there are some things I wanted to share of no fault of theirs, just because I had to kind of shrink everything I wanted to say in a very short space of time. I'm trying to appeal to each and every one of you, students, high school students, the 𝐷𝐷𝐿 ecumenical, high school students in Belize City, high school students in Orange Walk, all over Belize, parents, grandparents, teachers, mechanics, all of us, we must rid ourselves of this complacent spirit. We live among ourselves, we see things going wrong, but we do nothing about it. I want to say, I don't know what each person's take is regarding the 13th Amendment, but before we delve into the 13th Amendment, before Gretchen join us, they announced that they would be here on the 24th of September from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm saying 1 p.m. because I arrived there shortly before 1 p.m. I think it's a disrespect to Dangriga. It's a disrespect to the South. You know, I am here with a small handful of people creating something for everyone to learn from, to listen, to better themselves, to understand why we are where we are as a people. I wanted to ask the representatives of the government, the people who came to consult with the people of Dangriga. I wanted to ask them, how serious is the edification process, the education process of the proposed 13th Amendment? How important is it for people to know? How important is it for the people of Dangriga to be informed as to what is taking place when we talk about the 13th Amendment? Because if it is important in any way, shape, or form, if it is important, why would they choose Ramadana Lopez? Good night, good night. Why would they choose to have a consultation during the week when people are at work, people are at school? And to add insult to injury, when they come to Dangriga, they had people who were on their way to that consultation after one. As I was rushing out, I'm receiving messages. Hey, don't waste your time. Go. I didn't check my messages until I got there. Then I noticed that these people, some of my good friends, folks, were warning me, telling me, hey, save yourself some time. They left. This was around 11:30 or before 11:30. They left. They were leaving. So I asked, how important is it for us to understand what's happening when it comes to the 13th Amendment? What does it entail? Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? Should we say yes? Should we say no? And if we say no, will they still continue? What's the process? So tonight, I am joined by a dear sister. Let me see. I'm trying to get Gretchen connected. We have to kill the spirit of complacency. If this is important, if it is important for Dangriga people to know what this 13th Amendment is about, why are we treating it as a product that you buy that you probably have to just replace? This is the Constitution, the highest law in the land. Why are they treating the Constitution, helping the regular people, helping us to understand? Connected, but all you can see. So Gretchen, I will see once you sign on. I will be notified when you sign on. Yeah, friends, brothers and sisters, we have to kill this spirit of complacency. I haven't been watching the news lately, but I took a glimpse at the news tonight, and there's something while I'm waiting for Gretchen, there's something I want to share with you guys as well.
Only about a dozen people.
So in case you guys didn't see the news about the consultation here in Dangriga, I want to play this clip and get your feedback. So let me play this clip and tell me what you guys think.
Only about a dozen people showed up today for the government's third public consultation on the controversial 13th Amendment bill in Dangriga. The session, scheduled to run until 4 p.m., wrapped up by noon, presumably due to poor turnout. The consultation, held at the 𝐷𝐸𝐶 Auditorium, focused on strengthening the legal framework for declaring a state of emergency. If passed, the bill would allow for the Governor General to designate special zones where police could search, seize, and arrest based on intelligence gathered about targeted individuals. Despite the low attendance, a representative of Dangriga, Dr. Louis Zabane, said the team was still able to hear and respond to community concerns.
Specifically to the consultations first, we heard some very good suggestions with respect to ensuring that the information is not just centered, say, to Belize City or maybe even Belmopan, but that throughout the country, citizens are very interested in understanding what the 13th Amendment is about. But even beyond that, laws generally, that a number of citizens that came today, residents of Dangriga that came here today, expressed that they were really grateful for the opportunity because now they have a better understanding of what it is that the purpose of this 13th Amendment is pursuing, right? So I think that was something that came out clearly.
Dangriga's Mayor Robert Mariano voiced his support for the bill, saying it would help Belizeans feel safer. Only about a dozen people showed up today for the government's third.
All right. Let me get you guys' take. What do you receive? What do you understand from that ironclad? I am still waiting on my guest connect, but all you can see is not. What are your guys' thought about so ironclad says there was a before the 13th amendment, that's why it's an amendment, because there's an wow, this is very long, my brother. This is long, but let me try. Because there's an existing gang legislation giving powers to declare curfew and to arrest suspects, then ask questions later. What is new about the 13th is a specially designed court to go along because they've been having problems garnering convictions. Therefore, I would argue that it's not the quote police that are struggling. I would say it's the people that the legislation will affect, what it will do to their constitutional rights once it's amended. My brother, I'm glad I read your comment. I try to, in all honesty, I try to read short comments just to give everybody a chance. But I must confess that I'm glad I read your comment. Several things I could respond to what you said, and when Gretchen comes on, she's gonna explain in more detail. Now, regarding the title, I take it that you're referring to the title of this show or the subtitle, where it says, let me get that here. Let me put that on the screen. Just so we're seeing the same thing. All right, let me put this on the screen. So when it comes to the police will have problems in the sense that I want to explain myself. The police will have problems in the sense that some of them will have conscience. You see, sometimes we forget that there are people doing these jobs. Policemen, all these law enforcers, they are regular people doing their job, right? So when I say the police, the struggles the police are facing, because they will be convicted. They will be convicted when it's time to go and lock up one of their friends, when it's time to go in their own neighborhoods. You don't think that some of these policemen, police officers, they have family in an same gang infested area as well? Sometimes some of the police they pass standby, they probably don't want to do their job. And of course, you have some of the chancy ones then. Miss Joyce Cayetano, good night, my dear sister. You have some of the chancy ones then who just like the job for rough up people. Right? But just keep in mind that we do have police officers who care. It's hard to think like that because of our experiences. And even for me as an individual, I have had, um, you know, I have had my fair share of this police brutality treatment that comes with policing. So even with my experience, I still have to be fair as a human being. I have to tap into the humanitarian side of me, that humanness, to know that not all these policemen, not all these police officers are terrible, and that they're not pricked. Their conscience will be pricked. So I have in the waiting room my guest for tonight, Gretchen Smith. Gretchen captured my attention just before the consultation and during the consultation, because she was there. She spoke, and her segment was on the news as well. Gretchen, good night to you. Let me bring your feed over to the live. All right. I'm adding Gretchen to the live, folks. Yeah, but that's one thing I wanted to say to you, my brother, that made that comment. That when I refer to the police, um, it's just to say that they have family, they have conscience, and it's important to keep that into consideration. All right, Gretchen. Let
Good
me.
evening.
Good evening, Gretchen. Good evening to you. Thank you, my dear, for accepting the call
You're
to
welcome. I
join
had a
me.
little challenge, so I had to switch to an old computer, so I'm sorry the video is not very good.
No, we're good. We're good. Your voice is clear. We can still see your face. This will suffice.
Okay, great.
It's a blessing that you're here. That's the main part. Just for our audience, most of them, I'm sure, don't know you. Just give me a little bit of background information of Gretchen, including how you landed in Belize.
Oh, I first came to Belize in 1994 to work at a hotel in 𝐷𝐸 Village. And I was supposed to work for the summer, and I fell in love with Belize, so I sold my car and I stayed for 4 years. And then I spent the next 20 years trying to get back, and I came back in 2017.
Wow, that flew off your tongue like that. It's
Belize was always home
um,
to me
that
as far
that's
as I
the
was
Reader's
concerned. From the
Digest.
moment I landed here, it was home.
Good. I love that. Gretchen, we're talking about the 13th Amendment. In your own words, I know you've done a lot of reading, and folks, one of the main reasons Gretchen is here is because she did some in-depth research on the murders that happened from, I believe, from January, right, Gretchen?
Yeah, the first
All the
half of
way
this
till,
year.
right, to this year. Um, so she did a detailed report on that and I'm just saying this in my own words. She's going to explain it all, but how she interprets whether or not the 13th Amendment, if we should say yes or no to the 13th Amendment. So, in your own words, Gretchen, just for our viewers' sake, for those who are still trying to figure out what is this 13th Amendment, thing, educate us from your vantage point.
Okay, so I have the bill in front of me, and basically it's to provide for declaration of special areas for public safety and public order for the purpose of preventing, detecting, or controlling crime and limiting the rights therein for a period of time, to provide for the establishment of a gun and gang court, and to validate past proclamations. So basically, they want to designate special areas where they will limit the constitutional rights of the people that live in those areas for a specified period of time ranging from 30 days to 12 months, depending. And then they also want to establish a gun and gang court, and they want to make all of this retroactive to cover 9 previous proclamations and 9 emergency powers that were previously passed, which may or may not be found in violation of the existing constitutional rights and laws.
Now, you did an in-depth research as to the amount of murders to really get to the nitty-gritty of should we really do we really need this amendment? Give me a summary of your discoveries, and then we could break it down to we can categorize your
Okay.
findings.
So I wanted to establish how many murders there were, who died, who committed the murders, and where they happened, at what time of day they happened, what day of the week, to establish where the resources need to be allocated to improve this situation. And also because I believe before we make any changes to the Constitution, we really need to understand the facts. And so I went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of news articles and compiled this data and it is for the first half of the year of 2025. So basically we had 52 murder victims nationwide. Of those 52 victims, 27 had no gang affiliation whatsoever, nothing related to gangs at all. And then that leaves 25 that were either gang or drug or cartel related. And let me just break that down real briefly. 16 gang members were killed. 4 family members of gang members who were most likely innocent were killed. 4 of the deaths, the murders, were drug related, and 1 was cartel related. So that's 25 of the 52 had a gang or cartel or drug related situation going on.
Now, let's break that down into give me a visual. What do you see with all that, with those numbers?
Well, something that's important to know is what gangs were involved, because they have specific areas that they control. So in Belize City, the gangs that were had victims were Bacallan Crips, Boneyard Crips, Ghost Town, Majestic Alley Crips, Gaza Crips, Faber's Road, Southside Crips, Mayflower, PIV Bloods, Victoria Street, 107, and Taylor's Alley were the ones that had deaths and murders in the past 6 months. In 𝐤𝐿, there were also several. So we have RCG, Another World, Unitedville, and Cotton Tree. So yes, Belize City had the majority of the gang-related murders, but there were some in 𝐤𝐿 as well.
Mhm.
And if I could just go on with a few more stats that might be interesting, let's talk
For
about
sure.
what happened and if there was a state of emergency in effect or not. So let's see here. The state of emergency that we had this year was from May 7th to June 7th, 2025. And during that state of emergency, 2 people were killed. One was a gang member and one was cartel related. And in both of those cases, the bodies were dumped. And those are the only bodies that were dumped of all the 52 murders. I guess another important thing to notate is that 13 of the 25 gang and cartel and drug related murders occurred when there was no state of emergency. Also, we had 10 when there was no state of emergency even possible because cabinet was not in session. So even though the Compol may have wanted to do a state of emergency, he couldn't because cabinet was not in session. That was when the elections, when they had dissolved National Assembly. So 10 happened during that period of time. So when there was an SOE, we had 2. And when there was no SOE, we had 10. And then we had 13 also when there was no SOE. So
Wow.
So SOE is effective. However, it definitely is a violation of constitutional rights, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I agree.
So
do you want to go on with, okay.
Well, maybe we could talk about what it is that they intend to do. I have the bill in front of me for anybody who's following along. I'm on page 2, and I'll just read this segment here. It says, whereas as a result of action that has been taken or is immediately threatened by persons or bodies of persons of such a nature on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger public safety or deprive the community or a substantial portion of the community of supplies and services essential to life. And I'll just stop there. So basically they're saying that they want to be able to declare a state of emergency if it is endangering the public. But they don't really define essential services. They don't define substantial portion of the community in numbers or anything like that. They don't define how public safety is evaluated to determine that it's a danger. Like, is it just because there was a gunshot, or is it because there were threats? We don't really have enough information to understand the parameters of this. So as the bill stands right now, I would not be able to support it, but I do think a rewrite could possibly and potentially be helpful. A big issue here is they say reasonable grounds. So on page 3 of the bill, they talk about reasonable grounds. And what are reasonable grounds to limit the rights of citizens? Like, what do you think that would be, Cyril?
That's vague. That's vague, though.
Like, what would be a reasonable ground? Like, if somebody set off a bomb, or if an AK-47 was sprayed at a public place, is that reasonable grounds to suspend the rights of citizens?
Yeah, that it's vague. It's nebulous. It could mean anything.
Yeah, so they've left it quite wide open for interpretation. It's very concerning to me that the reasonable grounds are not really clarified as to what would be reasonable grounds. And also on this page, on page 3, they talk about designating a National Advisory Committee. So it says that basically the principal act is going to be used on the advice of National Security Council or the National Advisory Committee. Well, who determines who's on the National Advisory Committee? What qualifications do they have to make a decision that we should suspend the rights of citizens?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying? And
no, go ahead.
and does the National Security Council even have a handle on the situation enough to understand if it's justifiable and reasonable grounds to suspend the rights of citizens?
I understand that there has been a draft, and that draft was supposed to be sent to this council. All right? Do you have knowledge of that? And also, this council is does this council even exist?
Well, the National Security Council does exist, and presumably they get reports from GI3, although I can't speak to that. I don't work for the police or anything. So GI3 is the enforcement arm for gang-related issues, and GI3 has a lot of knowledge. I want to give them credit. GI3 knows who's who and what's what on the ground. They're very aware of, when someone's coming out of prison and there's an old beef or that might flare up. They're aware of these things, but currently, unless there's a state of emergency, they don't have the right to stop and do search and seizure and things like that. So one of the things that state of emergency allows is, as they call it, justifiable search and seizure. I don't know what's reasonable grounds for searching someone and what's reasonable grounds for seizing things. They do go into it a little bit on page 4. And what they want to do is they want to designate a special area. So let's say they designate, hypothetically, South Side as a special area for SOE. Then that means they can search and seize from anybody in Southside without a warrant, without anything during that period of time. No. And they can preemptively arrest people and detain them with the idea that they think they might commit a crime.
Right. So let's rewind a bit. Now, what would make them find it necessary to make a certain area a special area? Are we talking about those what we just talked about, the vague circumstances?
Yes, they don't really define very clearly what are the parameters for determining a state of emergency, and they leave it up to it has to be by the order of the Governor General. So apparently as I see it in this bill, the National Security Council, National Advisory Committee or Council is supposed to make a recommendation to the GG, the Governor General, and then she is the one that signs off on a state of emergency. Now, I presume the GG doesn't have a lot of in-depth knowledge of gangs and things in Belize, so she's going to be relying on the advice of those councils and committees.
We have a comment, is not giving the police too much power. I mean, indeed, it is giving the government too much power. So I ask, what would make them, because, for example, right, I gave this some colleagues, we were talking, and I said to them, take, for example, when it's time for election, right? Election time. Let's say you have one shooting in Bakatong here in Dangriga. And then probably a week or two later, you have another shooting. I'm just creating a scenario here. And so they will deem it necessary to lock down that area and call it a special area. Right? We want to take this to basics. So it doesn't matter who lives in that area. They will have the authority under the Constitution to go in your house, drag you to prison, for at least
Anybody in that area. It's basically
anybody.
up to the police. It defines
Right,
special, it defines it as Coast Guard, police, and BDF. Any of those apparently can go into your house if they suspect that you might be having a gun or getting ready to use a
right.
gun or
Just
having
under
drugs.
suspicion.
But what is the grounds for suspicion is my question, because I don't think any one police officer should be making that decision as to whether or not they need to do a search and seizure, because that puts a lot of responsibility on that police and kind of puts them at risk as well. Why are we not going to get the warrant?
That exactly. And we had an individual that commented earlier. I'm gonna ask you this question again, but let me go to the comments. Mr. Eric Castillo, he says, reasonable grounds is what gives the minister of the police an open book to do at his own will, police state or the state. Miss Joyce Cayetano says their power overtake already is already overwhelming. Yes. So who will protect the innocent?
And really, like, what? Let's say that you live in a house with 5 different people. Who's to say your roommate isn't up to something that you knew nothing about, and now you're dragged into that?
Yeah, exactly. So folks, this is it's important, and this is why we're organizing this event on Sunday, the 28th of this month, and I want to invite each and every one of you come through. We are getting a bus to leave Hopkins at 1 p.m. That bus will circle Dangriga. It will, for those of you who live too far from the Russell Chiste Auditorium, the bus will circle Dangriga, drop off the Hopkins crew, circle Dangriga, and pick up from Bengoche, all the areas too far, too distant from the Russell Chiste Auditorium. Gretchen, this is very serious, man. This is serious.
Let me talk to you about
ahead.
page 4. Page 4 really blew my mind on this amendment here. On page 4, it says that the state of emergency shall remain in force for a period of not exceeding 1 month. Okay, 30 days is not so horrible. But then you read B and it says, but it may be extended from time to time by resolution passed by, ready for this, passed by National Assembly for further periods not exceeding in respect to 12 months. So they could go up to 12 months.
Please repeat that for me, Gretchen.
Okay,
Please
so it first says that it shall remain in force for 1 month. And then there's like this but that they put in there. And they say, but if National Assembly feels there's a need, they can extend it for as long as 12 months.
So anybody that they picks up, right? They pick up your brother, your friend, whosoever. So they would also have the right, the power to not hold you for 24 hours. You're saying it could go up to 6 months?
12.
Up to 12 months?
No, the state of emergency could be extended for up to 12 months in certain cases.
Okay. But there is also something in there that talks about extending the jail time too. I know Dickie Bradley had mentioned it.
So I downloaded this today from the National Assembly website to make sure I had the most current copy, but I'm kind of feeling like it might not be the most current copy. I don't know if they failed to update that or what, because I didn't find anything about the jail time at all. But basically, this is the only, so all the other times it says the Governor General, but now suddenly we're giving National Assembly permission to extend an SOE by up to 12 months.
Yeah, that's
And it doesn't even say in there that they will review the reports from the National Security Council or the National Advisory Commission at all. It doesn't say anything about how they will handle that process.
Yeah, you know what? What's your take? Let me ask you, what's your take on what took place yesterday? Was it adequate? Was it sufficient? What is your take?
First of all, it was scheduled from 10 to 4. There was a venue change, which some people may not have seen the announcement of the venue change at the last minute. Secondly, there were like 15 people that showed up in person, and then they closed early. They stopped, I guess, around probably 12, and there were still people that were just arriving. And there was a lady that was really upset because she took her lunch hour to come and give comment, and they had already packed up the chairs. Now, furthermore, it is my opinion that these consultations should be held online in the evenings and on the weekends so that people can attend virtually, but they should also do some in person. But again, it needs to be evenings and weekends when people aren't working. Do we really expect somebody to take a full day off of work to come and attend this, and then they show up and they've packed up early? I did not appreciate that. I understand that they didn't have many people, but you said 10 to 4, so some people might have planned to come at 2 or 3.
Which indeed happened. And Gretchen, you are absolutely right. That has been one of my, because I went there. I got there shortly before 1.
And
I
it was
was
empty.
flabbergasted. I was like floored. The place was clean. Clean.
Yeah, they packed up quick. There was a lady, she was very agitated. She really wanted to share and speak her mind. And I mean, the great news is you can submit in writing your comments and your suggestions. But if you have questions, you don't necessarily get an answer if you just submit a question. So the public consultations are valuable for having your questions answered.
Yeah. You know, and I asked the question again, right, just before you came on, and I'll go to the comment. If this is important, if this is something, we're talking about the Constitution. We're talking about the Constitution, the highest law of the land. If it is important for the government, our leaders, to educate, to inform our people, the masses, about the importance of amending the Constitution, why are they treating it like they're just giving away something? Normally, when you're giving away something, you really don't care who come. People are come anyhow. Am I right or wrong, Richard?
Yeah.
So they're treating this like you just post a press release or something. Oh, we're gonna be in your town, and then 24 hours before the scheduled event, or less than 24 hours, you change the venue and expect everybody will receive that update. And to add insult to injury, you come, start late, and leave way early.
And also, I felt that the reason I did my statistical analysis and report was because I contacted Belize Crime Observatory and asked for statistics. I wanted a breakdown. How many of the murders were gang related and how many were not? It seemed like a simple and a legitimate question. They never responded, and they don't have it published on their site that way. They just have murders, rapes, assaults. So the only way to determine how much of this was gang related and how much of it was just other issues like land disputes, domestic violence, and other things was to go through and dig through those documents. So I would think at a public consultation, you would come in and you would say, in Dangriga, this is why we need this. We've had X number of murders that were gang related or drug related or cartel related this year, and we have a concern And we may or may not need to do a state of emergency. The truth is, if you look at the numbers, Dangriga is not likely to be affected because you had
Right.
one murder in the first half of 2025, and there were only 7 in Stan Creek total, and none were gang related. The one that you did have may have been drug related, but it was a little hard to determine. So is this really an issue that's going to affect Dangriga? Probably not. Until, now this is the big thing. Let's say that you, as the government, decide to do these special designated areas. You think the gang's not going to adjust? They know when an
Oh yeah.
SOE is going to come, and they're going to
Oh
flee,
yeah.
and they're going to go to places like Dangriga. So passing this could actually push them into an area like Dangriga.
You're absolutely right. You see how, man, listen, we have to be mindful. We have to hold ourselves accountable to know what is happening in our nation. This will affect all of us. Gretchen, I had promised to go to the comments and I didn't. Let me go to the comments
Yes,
here.
please. I'd like to hear.
Ramadana Lopez, exactly. It sounds like 13th Amendment is all for the police. Ms. Joyce Caetano, what is their need based on? That's a valid question. I want to get to that. Jetty, I can't imagine who would want this besides people in politics with the worst intention for the people. That's a strong point. Joyce Caetano, the respect for the people is so, my goodness, minimal. She's absolutely right. The respect for the people is so minimal. And that's what frustrates me.
Yes, I'm not
That's
a
exactly what I
supporter of
said.
PUP
I'm
or
like,
UDP. I'm just straight about statistics and research and the rights of the people. And I think making a sweeping constitutional change like this is very disrespectful to the people. I think that it needs to be much better thought out and much better defined. I would expect a document like this to be 50 to 60 pages long, and it's like 10 pages long.
oh wow.
So
You
that was
know,
a
it's not
surprise
even,
to me.
it's laughable, but it's not funny, honestly.
No, but at the same time, I appreciate that they tried to keep it simple because I think the average Belizean doesn't really like to read a lot of legalese. So in a sense,
Yeah,
I feel like that was the intent. But it definitely needs to be fleshed out before it could possibly be seriously considered, in my opinion.
now let's this is, I want to go to your findings, your research.
Okay.
Give me a global perspective. Tell me from your research why you're disagreeing with the 13th Amendment.
Well, the numbers. I mean, we're talking about 16 gang members were killed. 16. Okay. And we're talking about 4 family members of gang members were killed. And we did have an SOE for, I think it was May 7th to June 7th. So for 30 days in the 6-month period, we had a state of emergency, which did bring the numbers down. But are we really going to, and then there were 4 drug related and 1 cartel. So 25 murders. Are we really going to change the Constitution over 25 murders? Now 25 murders is 25 murders, but is it necessary to change the Constitution, or is it necessary to address the root cause of all of this, which we all know is poverty and corruption?
Yep.
No, nobody needs to be told
My
that. We all
goodness.
know that.
But you see, friends, you see, brothers and sisters, it's a no-brainer.
I mean,
It's a no-brainer.
school is mandatory now until 16, but yet high school is not free.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you expect
What
them
do
to do?
did you watch the news in regard to the consultation here in Dangriga?
No, I didn't get a chance.
Okay. You know why I brought it up. Okay, I want to, let me play this video. I'm sure you'll be able to see it, but I don't know if you will be able to hear it. Just let me know if you can hear it.
public consultation on the controversial 13th Amendment bill in Dangriga. The session, scheduled to run until
There's
4
no
p.m.,
sound, Cyril.
wrapped up by noon, presumably third public consultation. On the controversial 13th Amendment bill in Dangriga. The session, scheduled to run until 4 p.m., wrapped up by noon, presumably due to poor turnout. The consultation, held at the 𝐲𝐶𝐬𝐍𝐤 𝐘𝐈 Auditorium, focused on strengthening the legal framework for declaring a state of emergency. If passed, the bill would allow for the Governor General to designate special zones where police could search, seize, and arrest based on intelligence gathered about targeted individuals. Despite the low attendance, area representative of Dangriga, Dr. Louis Zabane, said the team was still able to hear and respond to community concerns.
Specifically to the consultations first, we heard some very good suggestions with respect to ensuring that the information is not just centered, say, to Belize City or maybe even Belmopan, but that throughout the country, citizens are very interested in understanding what the 13th Amendment is about, but even beyond that, laws generally, that a number of citizens that came today, residents of Dangriga that came here today, expressed that they were really grateful for the opportunity because now they have a better understanding of what it is that the purpose of this 13th Amendment is pursuing, right? So I think that was something that came out clearly.
Dangriga's Mayor Robert Mariano voiced his support for the bill, saying it would help Belizeans feel safer in public.
People will tell you that only crazy people expect different results in doing things the same way. And so at this time, the 13th Amendment is being offered to the country. And so we believe that the 13th Amendment is something different. And so it's important for us to adopt the 13th Amendment. And again, from my side, to my mind, for those people who are law-abiding don't need to fear the 13th Amendment because the 13th Amendment is here to protect the citizens from crime.
I want to ask you, why do people who are law-abiding citizens, let's say that, law-abiding citizens, do law-abiding citizens, should they have any fear or any concern?
I think they definitely should because there's very few people that live alone. Almost everybody lives with a family or with roommates or with cousins or aunts or uncles. So I know some case studies in Belize City whereby homes were raided over and over and over again with no legitimate reason. And I can't speak to specific individuals, but I'll just give a general case. Like sometimes somebody gets out of prison and they've completed a lot of rehabilitation programs in prison. Maybe they've completed their GED, who knows? And they get out and they're trying to get their life right. And they're trying to get a job and get sorted out. And they may enter a training program like at IT Vet, or they may get a job somewhere or get an internship somewhere. And they're trying to get their life in order. But due to these SOEs that we had, I know some people in that situation who had their homes raided multiple times. And, imagine how their wife felt or their children felt with big, bad police coming in and scaring them half to death. And this does happen. And there are also just, the innocent grandmother who's got her grandkids around and the grandkids hanging out with somebody who they shouldn't be hanging out with. And their house could potentially be raided just because of that.
Yeah. You are
You have a
absolutely right. You
reverb,
said,
by the way, Cyril. I don't know if you have reverb on your sound.
let's see, 1 second.
While you're going to fix the sound, I'll go over some statistics that might be of interest
Sure.
to people.
What
So,
about now?
yeah, that's better.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll still share these statistics. So, take a guess. What percentage of the murders were Hispanic and what percentage were Garifuna and what percentage were Creole? Take some guesses.
Come on, folks. Give me some guesses. What percent of are you talking about the murders?
The murder victims, like how
The
many
murder
were Creole,
victims.
how many were compared to Hispanic, compared to Mayan, compared to Garifuna, compared to Caucasian? Any ideas out there?
Are you going to give us a total to say
Yeah.
10 out of?
Yeah, I'll give you the percentages. I don't have the totals, but 54% of the victims were Creole. 54%. 30% were Hispanic. Okay, those were not gang related. Now, this is total of 52 murders. This is total of all of them.
Right.
6% were Mayan. 4% were Garifuna. And there was one Caucasian, one Guatemalan, and one Honduran that were murdered. So if we understand these demographics, then it would likely follow that if they set up these special areas, these specially designated areas are most likely going to be amongst the Creole people, primarily.
Based on your findings.
Yes, and then another interesting thing about demographics to consider is the ages of the victims. So 25% of the victims were ages 18 to 25 years old. So that was the highest number. 25% were ages 18 to 25.
Wow.
And then we jumped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
then
are
we
our
jumped.
youths.
Yeah, the youths were in trouble, but then we had a close second here at 19%, and it's not what you think. You might have thought it was like 25 to 30 or 30 to 35. No, it was ages 36 to 40.
Oh, wow. That's 19%.
That was 19% in the second place. And then we had 13% ages 26 to 30, 11% 31 to 35, 5.8% 41 to 45, 9.6% 46 to 50. And if anyone wants this report, I'll give you the full report. You can just send me a message or Cyril and we'll get it to you.
Yes. And thanks for that, Gretchen. Gretchen is, man, this is a detailed report, folks. Get your hand. I will help distribute this report as well. Get your hand on this report. It shows you details as to the crime, where the crime is happening, and for you to weigh for yourself. Is this state of emergency, if this 13th amendment necessary? Should we really be going there? And I will tell you right now, Dickie Bradley is saying no. The answer is no, we should not. Arthur Saldiva is saying no, we should not. Audrey Matura is saying no, we should not. There's another attorney that I know, I forgot her name, but vehemently saying no, please don't. Once they tamper with the Constitution, that's it. And you know what I fear? You see, what we also have to keep into consideration, just let's say that they pass, that this proposed amendment is passed. We will have leaders that will come after right after all of them, who will have access to that type of power as well. And God forbid that those leaders coming is not going to be like if you watch the Terminator, the T-100, or the one more dangerous than what we already have. I am not with the 13th Amendment. I highly suggest, don't take it from me, do your research. Try to find out for yourself. Gretchen, you are amazing. What else can you share with us? What else is so important about this that we need to know?
Well, let me skip into a page in here where I wrote like all these notes. Okay. All right, getting back to the Constitution, I have a question. that they didn't address. What if the governor general is hospitalized? What if she's traveling? What if she dies? What's our backup plan?
And I want to add, right? So you're asking that because it's the governor general that will make that decision, yes?
Yes.
But check this out, right? We have to understand, people. This is why it is important to know how we are governed. The governor general is selected based on the recommendation of the prime minister. So it's the prime minister who is going to recommend who will become the next governor general. Now, there are so many things that need to go through the governor general before anything happens. For example, election. The last person that has to sign off, to my knowledge, is the governor general. Have to sign off on it and say, yes, we don't have election. Who do you think the prime minister is going to recommend to become the governor general? He's likely going to recommend somebody who he knows is going to work in his favor, yes or no?
Yeah.
So, even with this, you were saying, Gretchen, you were asking a question earlier about the governor general.
Oh yes. What if something happens? If she's in the hospital or traveling or she dies? We don't have an assistant governor general, I don't think.
No, we don't. We don't. I've never heard that question actually, and you're right. What if something happens to the governor general?
I mean, God forbid, because I love Gigi, but I wouldn't want to see anything happen.
That's interesting. I have to confess, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who is under the governor general. I don't know who is next in line. I don't know, maybe what? It's the prime minister. Is it the attorney general? I don't know.
But certainly
That's a good
something
question.
like that should be outlined in such a major change to the Constitution. All right, on page 6 of the Constitution, there's section 12 is full of interesting information. It says, in a special area, any member of the security forces, and remember that's police, Coast Guard, and BDF, may, without warrant, and using such force, if any, as may be reasonably justified in the circumstance, they may, Part A, search any premise, place, vehicle, person, thing, upon reasonable suspicion of being therein or therein, blah, 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 unlawful drug, unlicensed or prohibited firearm or ammunition, or any unlawfully obtained article or thing, or any person wanted in connection with a criminal investigation. So again, they can search without a warrant. But the real interesting one is B to me. I'm going to read B and I'm going to see if you catch what I caught. Are you ready?
Okay.
It's about seizure. It's about seizing property or seizure. Okay, so they may seize, take away, and detain any vehicle or article which he reasonably suspects is intended to be used or has been used for or in connection with the commission of any offense, or is or has been unlawfully obtained or possessed. Did you catch the sentence here where it says, any vehicle or article, blah, 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 which he reasonably suspects is intended to be used?
How will you know that, though?
Exactly. How would a police officer know the intent of somebody?
Exactly. How will you know that? That is crazy.
I thought that was a little bit odd and needed to be reworded.
Jerry said based on fashion and music, and my goodness, because you would have to discriminate.
Yeah. And who are they going to discriminate against? Mostly the Creole, because we know the Creole are presenting the highest numbers of problems.
Gretchen, this is interesting. This is so interesting. All right, you said you have more.
And they're also allowed, Part C, to arrest any person upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or being about to commit an offense. So you're sitting at home,
Yeah.
but you're like, are you going to about to commit an
This
offense in
could be
5 minutes or in 5 days or in 5
and
months?
this no,
Like,
but the thing is too, this could be anybody who appear to be doing based on your calculation,
yeah, it could
right?
be. It's
It
basically
could be
reasonable suspicion, and they're not defining what reasonable suspicion is. They're
yeah.
not defining what, this very reasonable suspicion is not well defined. It needs an actual definition. Now, here's another one that was really interesting to me, and number 13 on page 6. No person who is a female shall be searched under subsection 12A except by another female. So my question is, do we have enough female officers and BDF and Coast Guard to do these searches? And is, what's going to happen? Are they going to take them to the station and search them? Are they going to wait till the girl comes to the house to search
I
them?
guess because we don't have, I doubt we have a great number of female officers that will always be readily available to search.
So you're a gang member and you're in your car with your girl and you get pulled over to the police. What are you doing with your gun and your drugs and all that? What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
You're going to give it to the girl, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's not likely to be searched anytime until they can find a female police officer. And I get that that's cultural, but I don't know that I think it's wise.
I mean, with all these loopholes, it's not. This is too many loopholes.
Yes.
It's just too many.
All right. So another thing is Part D, they can cordon off a special area. So they can actually like block it off with blockades and things like that. So if you're living in an area that's designated SOE, they can put up blockades and your children have to walk around to get to school. Like, how does that happen? Like, what goes on?
Too many loopholes.
I don't think that I'm not completely opposed to the idea of SOE in special areas, but I don't think it's been properly written. So let's talk about the police for a moment and the very impossible job they have. First of all, the police should not be in a position to be having to do any of this because there should be proper interventions in place to prevent 85% of what's going down. Proper interventions would be education, schooling, retraining, sending them to a boot camp, making sure that they have their birth paper, their social, their driver's license, a bank account, so they can get a job, their police record. They can't get those things because half of the offices that they need to go to are in opposing gang territory.
Yeah.
So I'm glad the government's putting a lot of things online now, and that is helping. But unfortunately, they're also not tech savvy, some of these people, and some of them don't have devices. So then people like me have to come alongside and help them. And now my question is, because I'm helping them to get their birth paper or their social, am I now affiliated with them and under suspicion for hanging out with them?
Yeah, no. Again, it's just, it shouldn't. Let's take a look at the comments.
Yes, let's hear what the people are saying.
Raheem Castillo says, how can he say the 13th is to protect the law-abiding citizen? I guess he's referring to what the mayor said in the news interview. Law-abiding citizen, when clearly the amendment indicates that the police will have the power to target persons who, quote unquote, they think is a target. The law-abiding citizen will not have a mark on their forehead exactly saying, I am a... He's right.
Get a tattoo that says, I'm not a gang member?
Yeah, I'm not a law-abiding citizen. I'm not a gang member. Like, come on, man. Like, yo, I'm saying it's just too many loopholes. Too many loopholes. I am saying this, Gretchen, with smile and a little bit of laughter in my facial gestures, but folks, this is serious. This is serious. And I don't know what is going to happen with a super majority, PUP having a super majority right now in the House. So they could call whatever they want. They don't have no opposition, no one to oppose them. So right now for them, it's just a matter of conscience. And if they don't have any conscience, they probably, I don't know, Gretchen, but I am trying to find within myself the answer to the question, why are they insisting on this 13th Amendment?
Oh, you don't know the
Why?
answer? I know the answer.
Please enlighten me.
Tourism. Tourism. They have to keep the murder numbers down for the tourists.
But
If they get too many red flags and countries advise their people not to come here because it's a dangerous country, then so it's very
that
important to
makes
tourism to have low homicide rates and murder rates.
that makes I actually wasn't as simple as that should have been. I wasn't thinking about that, but you have a strong point. But is that the only reason?
Well, also our international funders put pressure on them to make sure that the murder rate is low as well. So, and I mean, there are many reasons that they're pushing it. Is if they can do this, they think they can limp along doing state of emergency after state of emergency. Remember, they've done 18 of them already, not this year, but in total. And they want to make this law retroactive on those 18 because there are people that are suing them and taking them to court.
Right.
All right. So the thing is that they don't want to put the money in necessary to do proper programming and proper interventions. I mean, we don't even have transitional housing for men coming out of prison or a job waiting for them. And nobody wants to hire men that have a criminal history. And so what are they going to do? Of course, they're going to go back to illegal activity. They have children and wives to feed. Have you ever been married to a woman who's hungry? I mean, if you're with a girlfriend that's hungry and she's pressuring you to get out there and get the food for the babies, you're going to do what you have to do, right?
And that's what you're right. And that's why I say, we were about to talk about the police, but hold on to that, right?
All right.
And that's why I say, we don't consider each other's situation. The citizen might not consider that the police, their conscience might be pricking them as well. Some of them might not want to go and do this type of work.
It's dangerous work.
It's not only dangerous work, but it's work that you have to do sometimes against your own brothers, against your own sisters.
Yeah, and Belize is a very small country, so
it's a small country.
The police are likely to personally know the people that they have to arrest and detain.
And so I say, right, this is not something we should be taking lightly. It is not. Educate yourself. You were going to talk about the police.
Well, I just imagine being a police officer and knowing in my neighborhood who was up to no good and who was not up to no good. Because if you're in a neighborhood and you know the people and you know them well, you know what's going on in the neighborhood you're policing. You know where the drug house is. You know who's selling weed, et cetera, et cetera. So it must be very frustrating for police to have to try to get evidence together against these people to arrest them. So this gives them a way to, the state of emergency would give them a way to arrest people that they know are doing bad things and that they know are doing no good. And they may not have those, I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of the gang members are smarter than the police as far as making sure there's never any evidence against them. And we have a 3% conviction rate as it relates to murders. So there's not a whole lot hanging over your head, to the chances, if you commit a murder, the chances you're going to get off. You may have to spend a couple years on remand waiting for your trial, but you're not likely to spend life in prison.
Yeah.
So let me give you,
This
let's come
is
back to some of these statistics let's talk about who did the killing. So
okay.
let's talk about the ages of the killers. How many, first of all, let me just state that at the time of this publication, 19 of the 52 murders had nobody charged for it at the time of the publication. Okay, so that's normal because it takes a while to gain evidence, and evidence is hard to come by in this country because the witnesses don't want to stand up. So anyway, this only applies to some of the murders. How many of the alleged assailants do you think were under 18? Take a wild guess.
What? I
One.
would say what? One?
One was 17 years old. We had one that was 19 years old. We had 7 alleged assailants were between the ages of 20 to 25. 9 of the alleged assailants were between the ages of 26 to 30. And 3 were between 31 and 40. So basically, most of the assailants were in their teens and 20s.
Wow.
So so there's a reason for that. Sometimes to get into a gang or cartel, you have to kill somebody to get in. That's not always the case in Belize, but it still can happen. That's one. Secondly, the older guys in the gangs will assign it to a younger person for them to prove that they'll do what they're told to do. And also puts less risk on them for getting caught and put in jail.
They gain their stripes.
Yeah, so they're gaining their stripes. So we really need to address the fact that young men from the ages of 16 to 30 need a lot of intervention because they are taking money for hits. Do you know how much a hit costs here? $200.
What? That's a life.
I mean, that number may have changed since I did the research on that a year ago, but I don't think it's that much difference.
To take a man's life.
Yeah, and then
$200.
Yeah, and they'll take it because that's a lot of money
Gretchen,
to them.
I have to ask. I mean, how do we know that?
I know that because I worked with the gang members and I interviewed them for a book that Dr. Baird wrote. Dr. Adam Baird wrote a book about the gangs in Belize, and I helped him interview some of the gang members about how things operate, how things work, that kind of thing. And Dr. Herbert Gale also wrote a book about it, and in his book, he said it was less than 500 in his book, I believe.
Dang. Folks, you hearing this? You hear what it takes to kill a man?
Now,
$200.
35 of the 52 victims were shot. The rest were stabbed or beaten to death or dismembered or hit with a machete or something. So 35 were by gunshot. And we know that 25 of those were gang affiliated. Okay, so that means there was 10 additional hits with a gun that were most likely paid hits. Possibly. I mean, I don't have the research that the police do, but it's a possibility.
Right. I know you're adding that it's a possibility, but what draws you to that point?
Because in evaluating the murders, like there was the guy down in Placencia, the American that was murdered, and he was into some corrupt land deals. And Ricardo Borja had been murdered also. And so it was all related to that mess from the year prior. So we knew he was into bad stuff. So I don't think anybody would take a risk of killing him just to kill him. I think that they would pay somebody to be the gunman. And then
I see.
there were other, I don't have those off the top of my head, the other ones. I'm sorry. My brain's a little fried tonight.
That's okay. You're doing great. This is amazing, man. I mean, folks, tell me this is not informative.
Let's talk about Belize City. You guys probably think that the murders in Belize district were primarily in Belize City, in the south side, right? That's probably what you think. But
That's what we're told.
you're going to be surprised.
That's what we hear for the most part.
37% of them were on the south side in the Belize district. 24% were on the north side. And then the rest,
that's a high number.
yeah, and the rest were out district, like Gales Point, Key-Cocker, San Pedro, Doublehead Cabbage, Burrell Boom, Hattieville, and Ladyville. So in the Belize district, only 37% of the murders were in south side. So if we do these state of emergency designated areas, special areas in south side, it's only addressing 37% of the problem.
This thing has too many loopholes, Gretchen. Too many loopholes. What are we doing? And we are depending on these individuals to lead us and to decide for us, to amend the Constitution. This is no small thing. You know, the reason why I started this show, Dangriga Unmuting the Truth, Demanding Change, is simply because we hear all these atrocities, all the corruption, and then it begs the question, what do we do? What do we do? Because we come on here, some of us, we have our podcasts, we have our radio shows, we talk, we try to inform the people. What is our responsibility?
Well,
this is amazing, Gretchen.
I mean, our responsibility, I got 12 years in Belize, so I'm going to include myself in our. I know I'm white and I'm a woman and all that, but y'all forgive me at some point for that. Basically, we all have a responsibility when any changes are going to happen to the Constitution. We need to show up at the public consultations and speak up. And we need to go ahead and read those. And by the way, they put all of those on the National Assembly website. You can call National Assembly and have them email it to you, or they will direct you on the website where to go and download. They're a little tricky to find, but you can actually download it and read it for yourself. This one is 10 pages. I know that's a lot for people to read. So that's why programs like this are really important, where you kind of go point by point through it so that people can verbally hear what is in these documents, and then they can speak up and speak out about what they want. It's, in my opinion, it's a stopgap measure to keep the crime rate down, and it will stop some murders, but I don't think it's the right solution. I think the right solution is free high school, better health care, higher minimum wage, higher job pay, more skills training. And I think you have to address everything from the root, from the birth paper to the social, to the driver's license, to the bank account, to the land paper. Because if you have a land paper in your name, nothing can stop you. If you have a land paper and a bank account and a job, you can get a loan and build a house. But without that land paper, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so you're stuck working for that $2.50 an hour unless you have a land paper. So we need to get people all the way from their birth paper to their land paper, and have a bank account as well, and have all those documents in order, their police record, all of it needs to be in order for them to go ahead and go forward in life, because they're stuck. They don't see any options, and Granny is sick and needs a CT scan, and Aunt Jenny needs dialysis, and there's no food in the fridge, and the electric bill has to be paid. And what are they going to do that?
Yeah. And that's why we must all do our part. Let's go to the comments, and then when we come back, I'll give you the final words, Gretchen, to
Okay.
close us out. Let's say Colin Coran Smith. I remember one time at Buttonwood Bay, police stopped me and searched me based on how I dress, red shirt and my hair out. And I noticed that this is my brother. I mean, this is what we're talking about. They're going to stop and search you based on what they assume.
I literally do not own anything red or blue in my wardrobe for that exact reason. Do not wear that crypt blue or that blood red color, because
And
that alone could be cause for arresting you.
You're right. But sometimes, honestly, as an individual, sometimes you just dress and you're not really thinking about, you don't live in that world. So you could wear a hot red and you're just not thinking about it. Right?
Yes, I understand, but it is cause for arrest. So
let's go to Jenny. One second, Gretchen.
Yeah, you got another. I love the comments.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, I have another comment. And let's not forget that police are known to be in the worst condition, mentality speaking, due to the stress of their jobs and the often hostile relationship between the people. You cannot in uppercase, give unstable, antagonistic people this much power. Yeah, I mean,
not to mention they don't have proper training. They only have limited training. They don't have proper gear. Where are the stun guns? Where are the pepper sprays so that they don't have to use a bullet to slow? Where are the rubber bullets?
Yeah.
Some of the police officers don't even have guns. I've heard there's not even enough to go around. I've heard. So they need to be properly equipped. And they need to be equipped with non-lethal force. And that should be like a very top priority of the police minister to get non-lethal force.
Before they get equipped, they need to be
these mentally ill people who've been killed by police. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. Two more comments here. Jerry, amazing. Thank you, Gretchen.
You're welcome.
Joyce Cayetano said, thank you for so much balanced information, Gretchen. Well informed. It's Joyce, great show, Uruwei. Keep the fire going. Thank you, my dear sister. Shalom. Yes, that was Jerry. All right, the mic is yours, Gretchen. I get jealous because everybody's calling Gretchen name. I'm shutting off this show right now.
But we love Cyril. Gretchen wouldn't be here without Cyril.
Teasing, we're good. So you get to have the last couple a minute or two, Gretchen, before we sign out.
Okay. So there were I think it was 9 statutory instruments that were emergency powers, and 9 proclamations that they've already done this. They've already done this 18 times in the past several years. I think that goes back to 2017, I think, or 18. Let me see. Yeah, it goes back to 2018. So since 2018, they've done this 18 times. And they want to make this change retroactive because they keep losing in court.
All right, good. I've been following this too. But for those who might not quite understand, explain that to the people. Why is this a problem? And explain retroactive.
Okay, so they have already been arresting people. They've already been declaring state of emergencies. 18 different times they've declared state of emergencies. Some of those might have been for natural disaster. So let's be fair about that. But they've claimed state of emergency 18 times, and they have arbitrarily detained people, arrested them, and put them in jail. This is very disruptive. If you're a person who's come out of jail, you're trying to get your life together, you finally get a job, but you're still on the list because you were a big gang member when you went into jail, for example, and now you're out and you're trying to change your life, and your house is getting searched and tossed, and you're not getting good sleep, and they're causing you to be late for work, that's bad enough. But then when they arrest and detain you, you lose your job, your wife loses her support, children don't have their school fees paid. It's very, very disruptive to be arrested and detained arbitrarily. And I don't see clear guidelines in here for how they can appeal that. They should immediately be able to appeal that within 24 hours. And then they should be able to say, hey, I'm in a mentorship program with Miss Gretchen. She's helping me with this. I have this job. I'm attending AA. I'm doing community service. They should be able to have an addendum on their police record that says that they're changing their life. It tells what programs they've completed and what changes they've made and where they work. And yes, they could be on probation, but to be arrested and detained because 10 years ago they were committed a crime and went to jail for it, they served their time. They served their time, and they should be given a
do you
chance
think
in
it's
life.
because they want to avoid more people suing them? I mean, for the retroactive part.
I would say so. This would solve a lot of the problems of them being sued for a violation of constitutional rights.
Right.
Yes, it would solve that.
Exactly.
So quite possibly.
Great.
But and then the last thing, and this is a big question mark in my mind. On the last page, they have this weird sentence all by itself with a number 9 next to it, which should be number 19, but it says the Crime Control and Criminal Justice Act is amended by repealing sections 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So I was like, what? So I looked up the Crime Control and Criminal Justice Act, and they had a 2018 version, then they had a 2020 amendment, and those sections were really strange. They said section 11 is it's illegal to recruit gang members. 12 is threatening to publish with intent to extort. That's like if there were these guys down south that were doing porn videos with tourists. The tourists didn't know that they were going to be selling them for porn and then using them to extort them. That's what that's about. 13 is demanding money with malice. 14 is murder, and 15 is shooting or wounding with intent to do harm, wounding, or grievous bodily harm. I don't understand why we are repealing these things. I don't know if I'm missing a page, if this was put on accident, but it makes no sense. So my answer is no, I would not support this bill in its current form. It needs severe revisions. I would expect those revisions to take maybe a year or two to be something that would be able to be passed. I agree that there are times for state of emergency, like rioting. If there's a riot and they're trying to burn down the government, I think, you could have a state of emergency.
Right. But no, you're absolutely right, Gretchen. And I'm sure there's a lot more we could talk about, and I definitely look forward to having you on this show again, because you can't come here, tease us, and run away forever. That's not going to happen.
It's really been my honor, Cyril. I try to stay behind the scenes and do my research and do my publications. I don't really come on talk shows. I don't even have a proper camera set up. But
you're doing this like you've been doing it for many years. So, and we appreciate you. Before we close out, let me go to the comments one more time.
Sure.
Jerry Helen, that's I'm not sure what you're. All right, Susan, I'll rewatch from the start. They need to compensate our Belizean people. Harm was done. Ms. Joyce believes it's time for us. It's time for a reset. Absolutely, Susan. The Holy Spirit is working. Yes, Susan.
Amen.
She said, "Speak, Gretchen. Speak."
That must be Susan Corrales. She's a friend of mine.
Yes. She's a friend of mine as well. She's my dear sister. I'm highly disappointed in the mayor of Dangriga, by the way, thinking it's a good thing for Belize. Miss Joyce, I release the Holy Spirit fire in every government building throughout Belize until they all humble themselves.
I see my Lord. Sisters Thank out there. Go sister. Girls.
Blessings to you. Done like a pro. Yes, absolutely. Gretchen, you're doing this like a pro. Raheem, Appreciate the information. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much. Thank each and every one of you for tuning to Obafo TV, Dangriga Unmuted. I'll be going live. I've been going live actually almost every night because of the fact that we're having this event on Sunday, the 28th. Thank you all for the support, the comments, the shares, the likes. And I encourage you to keep sharing, keep informing your people to come and hang out with Cyril Uruwei. Gretchen, I thank you so much. You're a
Brother
wealth of information.
Brother
And
Cyril, you were fantastic. You really made this easy. I was kind of nervous, and you did great to put me at ease.
oh
Thank you
my
so
gosh,
much.
well, teamwork. We did great. And thanks again, folks. This is it for tonight. We're ending our episode for tonight until tomorrow night, same time, same place. And I am promising you, as long as the Most High gives life. I keep looking at this camera, but I got to look at you guys. As long as the Most High gives life, Gretchen will be back again. I haven't even asked her yet, but I'm
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Gretchen, good night to you, my dear. And thanks again for joining.
Good
Abba
night, my
Isini,
brother.
one love, Inebese,
One love.
respect.